Why does this question upset you? I'm curious.
No, it doesn't upset me at all.
Okay.
But I tell you what it does do is it worries me. This obsession with the Israel-Hamas war, it's terrible because October 7th was unbelievable. And Hamas, has this trap that it tries to catch Israel into every time, which is, come in and kill our people in order that we can call for the world's attention to be on you as the aggressor.
That's what Jordan Peterson talked about when he did a video explaining the IQ score of Ashkenazi Jews and explaining the fact that there's a reason why they make more money is because their IQ is above and beyond the average, community. And this is him talking about it.
Sure. I've talked about it. Jordan's a great friend. I know. Yep. I've spoken about this. But I just mentioned it because historically, Jews have been attacked for being poor as often as they've been attacked for being rich, and sometimes simultaneously. 19th century European anti-Semitism, for instance, relied on the cognitive dissonance of the Rothschilds and also poor Eastern European emigre Jews. Every casualty, in my view, is on Hamas because you're not allowed to start a war and then moan when you lose it. And every casualty is on Hamas because they could have given back the hostages or not taken them in the first place. The world is very unempathetic when anything happens to Israel.
In this video, Douglas Murray absolutely collapsed in this debate, rolled in as AIPAC's rented mouthpiece, spewing the exact paid script, and got shredded the second facts dropped. Stammered, sweated, screamed anti-Semitism on cue like the trained shill he is. Total paid clown, exposed and humiliated in minutes.
Wildly lacking in empathy. I remember after 9/11, there was if, for instance, thousands and thousands of Americans have been killed on one day and thousands of Americans by proportion of population taken kidnapped, that America would not be tearing up the earth to get them back.
Yeah. Well, there's...
and that, by the way, it would have the right to do so and that its friends and allies should expect it to do so.
Yeah, I understand everybody. I understand everybody's arguments on the side of defending yourself, obviously. I understand those who have family in Palestine and they're sitting there saying, hey, I'm not for this. You're going to think your family first. I'm fully against any of the proxies that Iran funds as a guy that lived there and witnessed what the Hezbollahs did, living there where your women and your family are frightened of walking outside because you may get, whipped 77 times in your back for showing a little bit of hair or a little bit of this. Yeah. Those stories are endless.
This obsession with the Israel-Hamas war in the last year, it's terrible because October 7th was unbelievable. And Hamas, has this trap that it tries to catch Israel into every time, which is, come in and kill our people in order that we can call for the world's attention to be on you as the aggressor. And the world falls for it every time. It's a very interesting thing in the history of the Jews that they can be simultaneously accused of almost everything. You mentioned that they're disproportionately successful and wealthy.
That's what Jordan Peterson talked about when he did a video explaining the IQ score of Ashkenazi Jews and explaining the fact that there's a reason why they make more money is because their IQ is above and beyond the average, community. And this is him talking about it.
Sure. I've talked about it. Jordan's a great friend. I know. Yep. I've spoken about this. But I just mentioned it because historically, Jews have been attacked for being poor as often as they've been attacked for being rich, and sometimes simultaneously. 19th century European anti-Semitism, for instance, relied on the cognitive dissonance of the Rothschilds and also poor Eastern European emigre Jews. It's a fascinating thing about, why this tiny population in world terms should attract so much attention. It's because all of these things can be claimed simultaneously. Jews used to be attacked for being stateless. And in our day, they're attacked for having a state.
Bro, are you high? Israel gets $4 billion a year from the US, endless UN vetoes, wall-to-wall sympathetic media coverage, and politicians literally wearing little Israeli flags on their suits. Meanwhile, Gaza gets bombed back to the Stone Age, and the same networks call it self-defense. Douglas victimhood merchant Murray crying that the nuclear-armed F-35 flying regional superpower is the real underdog is peak clownery. Straight up gaslighting while the checks from his donors clear. Embarrassing.
Jews have historically been able to be attacked for being religious and also for being secular. You can be blamed for the ultra-religious rabbi if you're Jewish, and also for Karl Marx. This is, my view is that anti-Semitism and attitudes towards Jews fall into a very, very interesting part of the human psyche. They are the perfect group for people looking for single explanations for things. They are absolutely perfect for it. And history has shown this, and all of the literature and the writing on the history of Jews suggests this. I find it very interesting in our own day that there is this deep interest in it. For instance, I mean, you mentioned AIPAC, but what's the obsession with AIPAC compared to, for instance, do you know about the amount of money that Qatar pumps into this country?
This one's ironic. Murray portrays himself as the enlightened expert correcting the peasants, yet he ignores the 75-year occupation, decades of blockade, illegal settlements, UN resolutions, and the lived reality of Palestinians. He acts like Gaza exists in a vacuum. Let me ask you, why does Murray treat an entire people's history as an inconvenient detail? Comment below.
Why don't we talk about the Qatari lobby? Why? They have given billions of dollars, among other things, to Ivy League campuses. Mm-hmm. When campuses like Columbia accept millions of dollars in donation from Qatar, why is that not about the Qatar lobby? Why don't we hear about that? Because the Qataris seem not to be in the inherited imagination of people as a guiding hand and as a disproportionately visible minority. But you could do this, I mean, much more impressive in terms of donations to American lobbying entities is, I mean, like, how much have the Saudis paid in lobbying in recent years?
Why does this question upset you? I'm curious.
No, it doesn't upset me at all.
Okay.
But I tell you what it does do is it worries me. And the reason it worries me is because, as I say, I see people falling into a very dangerous rut. And I know too much history, not enough, I mean, we always can know more. I know too much history not to recognize something that's happening at the moment on this question. It's a very, very strange thing when people with not very much knowledge of a situation start to pretend to be wildly knowledgeable about it. And that's really what I've seen in the last year in particular in the US, on the right as well as on the left.
This was actually a very simple question for you, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Well, it's not that simple. It's actually a very complicated question.
But here's what I was asking you. So I'm having a conversation.
But there is no simple question in relation to this subject. Well, I see no scenario in which America can retreat from the world as it is and for the world to remain as it is. And I know, because people I know on the American right as well as on the American left, always at the risk of falling into the temptation of American withdrawal from the world. And I always have the same thing, which is, has America made mistakes? Of course. Has it got involved in things it couldn't deal with? Afghanistan? Absolutely. But that is not an argument for America stepping back. Because although America should be judicious in where it steps in the world, if it has no involvement in the world, other people will. And if America doesn't want to be the dominant power on the world stage, then it will have to cede the terrain to China or the Communist Party of China or whoever else. I'm interested, by the way, particularly on the right, I'm interested in this fall into the isolationism at the moment, because it's very interesting that those people want America still to be the foremost country in the world, but don't want to be involved in the world. Interesting, that.
Don't want to be involved in every war.
No. America is not involved in every war. Plenty of stuff. I mean, what's America doing in Myanmar?
we're involved in the main ones. Whether it's funding, money, it's
depends
resources.
what you see as the main ones. I mean,
what are the two main ones right now? The
two ones that have the most attention is different.
What's costing more than those two?
Well, the Syrian civil war that's lasted the last decade is costing far more lives.
I'm talking.
Hang on.
I'm talking like 2 years.
The Syrian civil war that's gone on for more than a decade now.
Right.
More people have been killed in that than have been killed in every single war involving Israel and all of the Arab armies in the last 80 years. So it does seem actually that people's attention is sometimes very clearly on certain issues. Israel and the Hamas war has gained the world's attention because every war involving Israel always does gain the world's attention. And maybe it's because of what we were discussing before about disproportionate attention towards the tiny percentage of the world's population that's Jewish. I mean, I can't help thinking that is the case because, as I say, I mean, I just notice in country after country people being massacred and nobody gives a damn. I mean, I've seen the massacre of Christians in the countries, in the Arab countries, and the destruction of the Christian communities in Iraq, for instance, destruction of the Christian communities in the north of Nigeria. The world is not focused day in, day out on these stories. As the old thing goes, if it's Jews, it's news. The world is obsessed with the question of Israel, and there are lots of reasons for that. And this past year, I mean, I've spent a lot of the time in Israel and Gaza. The world seems to have gone crazy over this conflict.
Douglas Murray frames every Israeli action as justified and every Palestinian death as someone else's fault. He downplays Gaza's devastation. He dismisses Muslim suffering. He reframes legitimate criticism as anti-Semitism. He shifts from facts to emotion, from policy to identity, from Gaza to geopolitics. Anything except accountability. This is why perspectives like Murray's are dangerous. They turn a humanitarian crisis into a propaganda exercise. So let me ask you, do you think his arguments on the podcast help peace or harm it? Is this analysis honest or just political theater? Should Palestinians continue being spoken about instead of being spoken to? Drop your comments. Let's talk. Let the world hear the voices Murray tries to talk over.